It may not have been the offensive explosion that Blue Jay fans wanted to see. Making the trip to Chicago, there were quite a few Jays fans there, and they would have loved to see some offense. However, a pitcher's duel at that. Shota Imanaga, one of the best in baseball, going up against Bowden Francis, who in his last 2 outings have been really, really good. Yeah, he continued that role today. 7 shutout innings yet again for Bowden, and all of a sudden, that splitter that he's got going, the new sinker that he's starting to work, it is starting to look good, and he puts up another incredible performance. And as I mentioned, offensively, it wasn't all that pretty. However, in the top of the second inning, we see Joey Loperfido come up to bat. And we all know what he's struggled with so far as a Blue Jay. That elevated anything, really. The swing and miss has been through the roof of the Jay. If you want to go through his stats with just the Toronto Blue Jays, I'm going to pull that up here. Going into play today in 12 games, got 19 strikeouts, hitting $140, $178 on base. It hasn't been pretty whatsoever. And he gets a 90-mile-an-hour pitch from Imanaga up and out of the zone. But he gets to it, gets underneath it, drills it to right. And I got to say, as much as Loperfido has not been great so far as a Jay offensively, that swing looked beautiful. And he drills it to right. And it's gone. His first home run as a Blue Jay. And it puts the Blue Jays in front 1-0 early on. His third big league homer. And those are the type of things you look at and you're like, okay, there's a tool there. But how can he, refine his play? And that's something that, whether going from a good big leaguer to a great big leaguer, that's what you got to show. But great job there from him, putting the Jays up 1-0. They couldn't do squat else offensively. 1 run on 8 hits total, but it didn't matter. Because Bowden Francis, couple outs from Ryan Burr, Genesis Cabrera getting 1 guy, and Chad Green cleaning up the 9th is all the Blue Jays needed today. 1-0 winners over the Cubs to salvage the finale of the series. Obviously, we know it really doesn't mean a whole lot. But hey, wins are much more fun to talk about. Now, let's get into this a little bit. All right, offensively, what did the players do today? Well, George Springer had a good day. He went 2 for 5 in the ball game. Ernie Clement and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. combined 0 for 8 with 3 strikeouts. Vladdy did walk. He went 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. So not a great day for Vlad offensively, but it was picked up otherwise. Alejandro Kirk went 2 for 4 in the ball game. Horowitz had a hit. Loperfido had another hit. He went 2 for 4 in the ball game. So good on him. And didn't strike out in the game. So that's a plus moving forward. Brian Serven went 1 for 3 with a walk. Coming out of the 9-hole, yeah, you'll take that any day of the week. But look, you get 8 hits, 9 strikeouts, walked 3 times. I'm not here to talk about that because it was no fun to watch. It wasn't pretty. It was unsexy at that. Bowden Francis got the ball to start the game. And that's the talking point. He is now 6-3 on the season. And remember when Bowden Francis, going into his start 3 prior, had an ERA, screw this, on July 10th against the San Francisco Giants, an ERA of 6.14, and it was in a decent sample size, and, it was no good, right? He wasn't any good. He only went, 1 inning, 2 inning bulk guy. And then he went out there against the Baltimore Orioles and threw 5 2/3 of 3 earned runs, and you're like, oh, it's not terrible from Bowden Francis there. And then he came out in the New York against the Yankees out of the bullpen, I believe it was, and goes a third of an inning, allows a hit and a run. It's not great, right? But then after that, 3 days later, he faces the Orioles yet again. And so you see that a lot of times in baseball where guys face teams for a second time in a week or 2 weeks or something like that. And the results are a little bit different. Now, again, he did a really good job. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. We talked about it on the Blue Jay Center podcast, right? Last time we were talking about how the strikeout numbers, he had 7 strikeouts and 8 strikeouts in back-to-back outings. And you're like, we hadn't had that all year. And so you go to that 8 strikeout outing against the Los Angeles Angels. 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 walk, or no walks, and 8 strikeouts. But then you got to use the excuse, right? Oh, it's the Angels, right? They're a pathetic ball club. So fine. The Chicago Cubs, right? Again, not a team that's going to overpower you offensively, but they're middle of the pack. 18th in runs scored, 16th in OBP. They're a mid-team when it comes to offense. Bowden Francis cooked them like no other today. 7 innings, 3 hits, no walks, no runs allowed, and again, 7 strikeouts from Bowden Francis. So in his last 3 outings, he has a combined 22 strikeouts to 1 walk. And if you want to go even a smaller sample, his last 2 outings, 15 strikeouts to no walks. He has been incredible in these last 3 outings. Now, is this just a hot stretch, a part of his career? It's possible. But he is dominating. And it's very, very nice to see. He held his own against the Baltimore Orioles. And against teams that are mid to crap teams, he dominates the crap out of them. The ERA for Bowden Francis after today's start, remember we talked about 6.14 on July 10th. And again, this is with a sample size going into play today with 56 innings. The ERA after today is 4.38, which is very serviceable for a guy who's, vying for that 5th spot in the rotation. It's a great job from Bowden Francis. You got to give the guy credit, and people hate to do it, and I'm going to do it here. We love to rip on the front office, and look, they've done a lot of bad. They also have done some good. However, their bad has been quite large, right? We all know the big moves that have really sewered this team offensively and all that stuff. But trading away Rowdy Tellez for Trevor Richards, regardless of how you feel about Trevor Richards, he gave you some big innings, some big time, outings. He was healthy 90% of the time. He did a job for you. Again, for a Rowdy Tellez who was never going to play in your team because of Vladdy at first base. And Bowden Francis was kind of that throw-in prospect. Now, for the longest time, we didn't really care because he was a AAA guy. He came up here, kind of a bulk guy. When he got the start this year, he was kind of like, whatever. And he was no good. And we're like, yeah, okay. But you look at these last 3 outings. Is this something that can continue? I need more than 3 starts to have a sample, but it's definitely eye-opening. And you look at his next start, if you want to go 5 days from now, because I believe the Jays are in a stretch of playing 5 in a row. You got, obviously, Reds for 3. So he won't be playing any of those. So if I'm not mistaken, he'll be playing the Angels again. So another soft one for him. But I will say this. Go out there and do it then. If it's just you can't control the schedule. If you're playing the Angels again, if you're starting to get the Angels in, do it. I talked about it earlier on. Teams make adjustments. So they're going to adjust to him. How is he going to adjust in his outing, seeing them for the second time in a week or 2? It's going to be interesting. Bullpen-wise, Ryan Burr went 2/3 inning, allowed a walk, and that beautiful play from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I don't know how Twinkle Toes got that over to first base and Ryan Burr. What a play from him to get his foot on the base. Hennis Cabrera came in to face one guy, struck him out. And Chad Green allowed a hit, but nothing more in his 13th save of the season for the Toronto Blue Jays. They win at 1-0. Won pretty offensively. We got a masterful start from Bowden Francis, who's going to be on your team next year. So enjoy it. All right. As I mentioned, the Jays start a 3-game set against the Cincinnati Reds back at Rogers Center starting tomorrow night. I got to do some math here. It's a 7:07 first pitch at Rogers Center. Hunter Green, Kevin Gausman is the matchup there. Hunter Green has been outstanding for the Reds this season. Wow. ERA under 3 in 143 innings, 162 punch-outs. He has been elite. Game 2, Jose Burros for the Jays. Doesn't have anybody right now for the Reds. Finale looks like Nick Martinez versus Yaro Rodriguez. And Nick Martinez has been pretty good for them this year. So it's going to be interesting. They're 3 games under 500, so nothing crazy good, but kind of around where the Chicago Cubs are. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So you know what, guys? That's going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed the video and Bowden Francis is outing and Joey Loperfido getting his first homer as a Blue Jay, hit that like button. Do appreciate it. The subscribe button, you guys not done so already. Comment down below your thoughts on the video, thoughts on the game. Would you like, would you not like from today's game for the Toronto Blue Jays? And I'll talk to you guys, I don't know, at some point. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. It's going to be a busy next couple of days. We're in Calgary right now, so you can see Luke Combs tonight. I'm completely jacked up. Going to be in Banff tomorrow and most of Tuesday before I fly back Tuesday night. So it's going to be interesting how it all goes. But regardless, thank you so much for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and the win this afternoon. Talk to you guys then.